All right, so I just wanted to make this video to talk about why it's so important that you don't compromise your morals and values. I know it's really easy to do that when you're talking about relationships, when you're talking about jobs or anything that's really important to you. But this video, this situation that I was in kind of really shook me and woke me to the importance of standing 10 toes down on my morals and values. So, I'm going to tell you what happened. I'm going to tell you why I was fired for one of the most bizarre reasons that I had heard of somebody being fired. So, first things first, I want to give you a background story, and it's very relevant to the situation that I am getting ready to explain. So, I would say probably about in the summertime, I went to an event downtown with my sister and brother in law. We were hanging out, we were having a really good time. And then there is a metal detector, right? And I'm like, okay, um, I don't typically go through metal detectors. Now, I will explain that I typically don't go through metal detectors because of the radiation in metal detectors. I did some brief research some years ago, and ever since I had opted out, I opt out when I go to the hospital, airport, even I had to drop off some things at the courthouse. I opt out then. They give you a bit of a hard time when you opt out, but usually they'll just do a pat down and it's no problem. So, anyway, I go to this event downtown with my sister and brother in law, and there's a metal detector. So I become kind of annoyed. I'm like, oh, here we go again. Because I don't want to feel like I'm the person holding the group up because they're like, oh, D doesn't go through metal detectors. And then, too, sometimes when you don't go through a metal detector, the people who are ushering you through, they get a bit annoyed, right? If you're like, okay, I don't go through metal detectors or I don't use a wand, they're like, well, what's your problem? Like, are you an alien? Like, why everybody else does it? Why don't you? So that particular day when I was at this event downtown with my brother-in-law and my sister, I was like, okay, I don't want to be the bottleneck. I don't want to be this problematic person. So I was like, I'm just going to walk through despite the research that I did. I was like, it should be fine this one time, right? This is what I'm telling myself in my head. So I walked through the metal detector. And as soon as I get under the metal detector, I kid you not, I feel this sharp pain go through the right side of my head. And then when I come out, I feel a little weird, like, whoa, like my stomach felt weird. And this all happened pretty immediately. And then I felt like a little delirious. I'm like, the heck? And I kind of look back at the metal detector, like, what just happened? Right, because honestly, I did not expect that. Some people may say, oh my gosh, that happened because you were just expecting that. But I tell you, I did not expect that. It shocked me. And for several hours after that, I felt a little bit delirious. Like I felt off mentally. And I told my sister, I said, never again am I going to go through a metal detector. And she just kind of looked at me like, well, we plead the blood of Jesus over you. I'm like, yes, amen. I received that. And also, I'm not going to go through a metal detector again. At that point, because of what I had experienced for several hours, feeling delirious, I felt, in a sense, like I had betrayed my values in a way. And I told myself, I'm like, I'm not going to betray my values in that way going forward. So, anyway, fast forward to my job. Now, the company that I worked for was a really large company. It had close to or over probably 10,000 employees. They were growing very fast. And this company had been around for over 40 years. So, this company was very well established. And so I had worked there for, I was almost at my 90-day mark. And this was a job I could see myself retiring in. And when I say retire, I mean work there for the next few years because I wasn't planning to retire at 65 or older, like what is traditional, right? Because I know that there are other things God wants me to do. So, anyway, this was a job that I could see myself retiring in. And overall, like I wasn't very happy with certain things about the job. Like nothing is perfect, right? But overall, I was like, it's cool. I don't mind going into work. So anyway, I had been working there for almost 3 months, and one day I got an email from uh, the department that sets up all of the events, and they were talking about the Christmas party that was coming up. And at the very bottom of that email, it said there will be metal detectors. And I saw that and I kind of immediately was like, oh no. Because after what happened to me, I kind of have a little bit of a flip out when I see metal detectors. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I immediately emailed the people who do events and I told them, hey, I can't go through metal detectors or use a wand, right? Because they both negatively affect me. And I asked if there was anything that could be done because I want to go to the Christmas party. And a few days later, the events department, they emailed me back and they're like, yeah, we just spoke with our security staff, and they're basically going to accommodate you so that you can enter the Christmas party safely. And I emailed back, thank you so much. I ended up forwarding that email to my personal email address just in case I had any issues getting into the Christmas party, which I'm really glad I did that. So fast forward about a week after that, all was cool, right? Everything clocking in, clocking out to work as normal. And on this particular day, a week later, after I sent that email and everything, a week later, I come into work, badge in as normal. And then about 5 hours later, I leave and I go to my car because I wanted to get something out of my car. And then I see this mysterious metal detector. And I'm like I had never seen a metal detector there anywhere, right? There are several doors you can enter in and out of that building. It's huge. So I had never seen a metal detector anywhere. And I was like, and I asked the security guy who was working at the door, I'm like, what is this? Like, why is this metal detector here? And I'm kind of flipping out in my voice, and he's trying to calm me down. He's like, oh, no, no, no. Like, don't worry. This is just something that they're testing out for the event that we have coming up next week. He was like, don't worry. It's not a big deal. Um, it's not here to stay. Basically, he assured me that it was temporary and that I had nothing to worry about. So I'm like, okay. And I start to walk out, I badge out, and I look back at that metal detector and I'm like, I'm just shaking my head. Like, why is that even here? Right. I was so confused. So anyway, when I come back from my car, I badge in as normal. I don't have to go through the metal detector. And that was pretty much that. Right. So I come in the next day, don't see a metal detector, don't have to go in through a metal detector. And it was like that for the next week. Everything was cool, fine, and dandy. About a week after that, after I spoke with that security person about that mysterious metal detector, I come in to work, I badge in as normal, everything's cool. I badge out, I leave for my lunch that day a little after 1, and then I come back from my lunch break a little after 2, and boom, there's the mysterious metal detector again. And I'm like, okay, like I just kind of look at it, and I go to the other, because there's a way you can enter in through you by going through the metal detector, and then there's another way you can just badge in as normal. So I go to the way where I badge in as normal, and then immediately this woman who's working at security, I had never seen her work security before. I was pretty friendly with all the security officers, but I saw her, she's like, ma'am, like you have to go, you have to come in this way, you have to go through the metal detector. And I'm like, but I don't go through metal detectors for medical reasons. Like, and I'm so confused. I'm like, what is going on? And she's like, you have to go through the metal detector. Like, there's no other way. I'm like, okay, so you don't have any alternatives? Can you do a pat down? They're like, nope, that's the only way. And they were like, okay, well, we'll get our supervisor up here to speak with you, because maybe he can help you, but like these are here to stay, and there's really nothing else that can be done. And while I'm waiting for the supervisor to come up, like I'm pretty frantic. So I call my mom, waiting by the door. They won't let me in. And I'm literally almost in tears because I'm like, Mom, like these metal detectors appeared out of nowhere. And, I don't know if they're going to let me back in. And she's trying to calm me down. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was pretty shaken up. So then the supervisor comes to the door and he's like, well, what's going on? And I explain to him that I can't go through the metal detectors for medical reasons. And he's like, well, um, like everybody has to go through them. I'm like, you don't have any other alternatives? There's nothing else that can be done? And he tells me there's not. And I tell him, hey, I don't have anything on me. Like, can you do a pat down? And he tells me that they can't do that. And I asked him, okay, well, can you just check my bags? I'm more than happy to let you check my bags. And so I started opening my bags. I have a big bag and then I have my purse inside of that big bag. So I'm opening my bags and I'm showing him, hey, I don't have anything in my bags. And he's just kind of looking through. He's like, all right. And then he just kind of ushers for me to walk through. And I thank him. And then I turn around and I ask him, well, what am I going to do about being late, clocking back in for lunch? And he tells me, oh, don't worry about it. We'll reach out to your basically supervisor, right? They call it a team leader. But he said, we'll reach out to your supervisor and we'll get everything corrected. And I thank him and I go back to my desk. After being back into work for about 45 minutes, I have somebody from HR. They come up to me and they ask me to follow them. And I'm like, oh, I like the whole time I'm following them, this woman, I'm like, I really hope this is not about those metal detectors. So I get back up to the front where the metal detectors are by the security desk. And I am met with the senior vice president of human resources. And she asks me what's going on. And I tell her for medical reasons, I can't go through metal detectors. And she's kind of listening. She's like, she looks really tired. Like, she's exhausted. She had a long day. And basically she ends up telling me, okay, well, we have these metal detectors, they're here to stay, everybody has to go through. And I told her, I said, well, when I went through last time, I felt a bit delirious, I felt a sharp pain in my head, and I felt sick, right? I said, they literally make me sick and not well, and they mentally put me off. I'm not able to go through metal detectors. And she asked me if I have a doctor's note. I told her I don't, but I told her several times that I could get one. Like, I didn't even know I would need to have a doctor's note. Had I known that and they hadn't just magically brought these metal detectors in, I would have gotten a doctor's note. And I told her, I'm like, I can get one. And she's like, okay, well, look, like you can walk through the metal detector right now. And if anything happens, we have EMT, which is the paramedics on site, and they can help you if you pass out. And I just kind of look at her like, am I living in the Twilight Zone? Like, I wouldn't even have the risk of passing out if you can just excuse me from going through these doggone metal detectors. I didn't say that, but I told her pretty much like, hey, like, that doesn't need to happen if you can just do any alternative. Is there anything else you can do? And she basically tells me there's not. Long story short, she ends up telling me that if I don't go through the metal detectors, we're going to have to separate. In other words, I'm going to be fired if I don't go through the metal detector. And I'm like, I'm shocked. I'm like, so do I have to walk through like right now? And she's like, yes. And I look at that metal detector and I look back at her. I'm just like, I was put on the spot, dude. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I know my morals, I know my values, but I like this job and I don't want to risk losing my job. And, I was just telling my family how happy I am about this job. And like all of these thoughts are running through my head in a matter of 30 seconds. So I had no time to really think about things. And she's looking at me like, what are you going to do? And everybody's looking at me like, you got the security guards at the desk. You got the VP of security and other, like, I think there were two other people from human resources. They're all looking at me like, what are you going to do? And I'm like, what am I going to do? So I'm just kind of standing there frozen and I'm like, like, I don't know what to do. And so the senior vice president of human resources, she looks at the VP of security and she does some kind of signal to him. And then he comes over. He's like, okay, can you follow me outside? And I kind of look at him like, well, what's going on? And he's like, okay. And by the security desk, he asks me for my badge and he tells me, like, well, you don't have to give it to me. You can hold on to it, but your access is denied going forward. And I'm like, it's all registering with me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm being fired. Like, this is crazy. And I am literally in shock, right? So I follow him outside and I start explaining to him like what's going on. Like, we never got any written notification about these metal detectors. Nobody knew, right? And he's like, well, they mentioned them in meetings, right? Which are called huddles, small meetings. And I'm like, nobody ever mentioned that to me, because I told him, I'm like, if they had, I would have reached out to somebody immediately to see how they could accommodate. Just like I did when they sent that email saying that they would have metal detectors at the Christmas party. I reached out to somebody immediately and I was like, hey, I can't go through metal detectors. I would have done the same thing had they mentioned them in any way, whether in written form or in a meeting. They didn't mention these in the larger meetings or the smaller meetings. I was shocked. And so I talked to the security officer, and he's very apologetic. He's like, "I'm so sorry. I wish I would have had a chance to meet you earlier, and I'm sorry. Like, we're meeting under these conditions, something to that effect, right? Maybe not verbatim." And he's really nice to me, right? And I told him, I'm like, well, she didn't actually say I was fired. So, like, is there anything that can be done? And he's like, okay, well, let me go back in and talk to her. So he goes back in and he talks to the senior vice president of human resources. And while I'm standing outside, I'm praying. I'm like, Lord, okay, this is crazy, but like your will be done. Like, if it's meant for me to work here, then work it out. If not, then basically lead me accordingly. And I'm just standing out there praying. And then he comes back, and I have the intuition to turn on my recorder so when he comes back, I can record the conversation. And so the VP comes back and he's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, it's final." Basically tells me that I am officially terminated. And I ask him, I say, so just to be clear, the reason I am terminated is because I won't go through the metal detector. And he's like, yes. So where I live, you are able to record people, right? It's a one party consent state. So I didn't do anything illegal. So anyway, that is what happened. And oh, and I forgot to mention that beforehand, here's where the big thing comes from, right? While I was talking to the senior vice president before I was walked outside, um, when she basically ushered for the vice president of security to walk me out, I had said to her, well, I can go through the metal detector. But as soon as I said that, right, because I didn't want to be fired, I was trying to think of a way to just get back in the building and talk to somebody above her. But as soon as I said that, I looked at the metal detector and something inside of me was just like, no. Like, I looked at that and I was like, there's no way I could go through. And the only way I can describe that is something in my spirit just telling me, no, no, don't go through that metal detector. And so that was that, right? Even then, she had already made the decision for the VP of security to walk me out. And that was one of the things the VP of security said. He was like, well, after, she terminated you, right, by ushering for him to walk me out, he said, you offered to walk through the metal detector. I was like, well, I did. I said, but I shouldn't have to choose between my health and my job. Like, there should be some kind of reasonable accommodation. I told him, I said, that is illegal. And he's like, well, ma'am, he looks very stressed. The whole time I was talking to them, their behavior was very weird. It appeared to me that they were definitely hiding something, and I don't quite know what that is. So I went on a fast shortly after that, just praying for direction and guidance in my life. Like, Lord, what do you want me to do going forward? And I got some answers, and that's something that I'm actually still praying about. But one of the big takeaways I took from this is do not compromise your morals and do not compromise your values. During the time when everybody had to get the ouchie, I was talking about that very openly to different people, like, don't compromise your values. If you feel like you're not being led to do that, but you're being forced to do it just to keep your job, don't go there. Right. And I was put in a situation where I was forced to compromise my values in order to keep my job. And I know I wanted to make this video to put it out there to say this is not the end, right? You have the chip coming. Maybe sometime in the future they may try to pull back in the pokies, right? So that people have to get that or you lose your job. But I want to encourage you that God will provide, He will lead and guide you to the next destination that He has for your life. But hold fast to your morals and values. And I literally wrote it down, like, what are my morals and values? And where am I willing to compromise? And where am I going to stand 10 toes down? And with metal detectors, that was one thing I said, I need to stand 10 toes down because, this is my health that I'm talking about. And some people out there, you may be watching, well, it doesn't affect me in that way. Okay, that's you, right? Everybody's body is different, right? You have some people who got the ouchie and they lived, and some other people who got it and they did not, right? There are all kinds of articles coming out about that now where it's saying, hey, by the way, all of these children did end up, you know, going home to be with the Lord after getting that, right? But they weren't telling us that in 2020 through 2022 when they were forcing everybody to get it. So stand firm to your morals and values. I am still in the process where, day by day, I am taking this up with God to be my provider. If you feel led to, sow into this channel, by all means, I would highly welcome it and would greatly appreciate it. God bless you in advance. As I am figuring everything out, I got a lot more videos coming, so make sure to stay tuned. But I wanted to make this video talking about that to anybody who's, struggling with the different things in your life. And, you may feel led to compromise. Stand 10 toes down on your morals and values, and, God's going to work it out for you. But anyway, that is all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. God bless you, and I will see you in the next video.